This is an emotional roller coaster. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reviewing the first book I got sent to as a booktuber, which is pretty exciting, and that is The Never-Ending End of the World. And this is one of, I think, 3 books that Campfire is currently publishing. And yeah, they sent me over this cool signed copy for, I don't think it's gonna focus, but yeah, they just wanted me to do a review for it, which I was more than happy to do. I do just want to say that you can always trust me. I am not going to sugarcoat anything or be biased because I either got a book or am, reviewing a book of somebody I know. I think I was pretty honest with my Way of the Dan book review that I did, even though I'm a big fan of Philip Chase's channel. I was very honest about, how I thought about his book, and that's going to be the same thing here. If this was a book I didn't like, I would tell you that, and I also wouldn't have accepted a book that wasn't something I wanted to read. When they reached out and, I read the synopsis of this book, I thought it was pretty interesting and it was something that I would like to read. And that's why I felt okay with saying yes and accepting it, and then to do a review for it. So I just kind of want to put that preamble out there that in no way am I ever going to be bought or anything like that to do a review, because what's the point of that? I really just do this for fun, and I just kind of wanted an outlet to talk about books I liked or didn't like. And so, yeah, I just kind of wanted to put that preamble in so that, no one worries about my integrity when it comes to reviewing books. With all that being said, let me go ahead and tell you what this book is about. Station 11 meets The Last of Us in this post-apocalyptic science fiction epic from US Today and the Wall Street Journal best-selling author Anna Christie. Coco Wells hasn't seen another living person since she was a teenager. All of Manhattan is reliving the same few seconds, minutes, or hours on a loop, and they have been for years. Everything looks normal from a distance, but up close, it's a nightmare. Coco is a survivor. She scavenges for food, reads, and most importantly, avoids loopers. They ignore her, but only as long as she's silent. She's learned the painful lesson that a broken loop can mean death. After 8 years of solitude, learning to survive, and precisely timing the loops that weave around the city, Coco wonders what lies beyond New York and what has become of the rest of the world. Am I the only one left? So I will go ahead and say, if that sounds interesting to you, I think you should just go ahead, turn off this review, and get the book. I think they're currently selling it for like $1 on Kindle for the pre-order. And the reason I say that is I went into this book completely blind, and I think that really helped the reading experience. And unfortunately, to review the book, I kind of have to allude to some things. I'm going to do my best to be, obviously spoiler free, but to be really vague, because I really think the experience of coming in completely blind to this story outside of that little snippet really does enhance the reading experience of this book. So if that even sounds a little interesting to you, I would say go ahead, click off, because I don't want to ruin that experience for you at all. If you need a little bit more coaxing, I'll stick around and I definitely will give you my thoughts and everything on it. So I really liked this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. And for me, that means I really liked the book. 5 stars are reserved for like really special I loved it books. And 3 stars for me are still good books, but this 4-star falls into that. I really like them. And not only did I really like this book, this is one of the higher ranking 4 stars I probably have. I have a spreadsheet that ranks every single book I've read since I started keeping track in like 2019. And this is definitely in like that upper echelon of 4-star books, which is really, really awesome. I took kind of a chance. I thought this book sounded interesting, but you never know what you're going to get when you say yes to reviewing an arc of a book, especially one from a company that's just kind of getting into publishing and everything. So I'm really happy that this was a great story, and I really did enjoy my time with it. I think this is the kind of book that will tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people. While yes, it is sci-fi, it's a lot more than like a hard sci-fi. This is very soft sci-fi. Think even softer than like The Martian or Project Hail Mary. There's very little like science that goes on in this book, which I know can definitely scare away some people. This is closer to like The Road with like a little bit more science into it, because at The Road, you don't really get any, you don't even know what happened. So you do have more science aspects than that, but it's not a lot. So don't go into thinking that this is, like hard sci-fi or anything like that. But this will be the kind of book that I will recommend to a lot of people who are looking for something to read for a couple different reasons. And we can go ahead and get into those, and I'll start with what I liked and what I didn't like. So the first thing that I really liked about this is the concept itself. The world that we are living in this story is really unique. It's not one that really felt that was being rehashed. Yes, it's a dystopian, kind of story, but to me, this world just felt really unique, and I really liked it. I really liked the way the character had to navigate through the world and just everything going on. And like I said, I'm going to try to be really vague because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, this was a really unique setting, and that was just awesome because a lot of these are, a meteor hit, a volcano went off, all this stuff. And you heard when I told you what the book was about, that this looping that's going on. And the way that that is explored and shown throughout, and how it can vary between all of the different loops that are going on, was just really well done. And we get to see a large variety of that throughout the story. The pacing on this book is also absolutely fantastic. And that's another reason why I think this will be something that I recommend to a lot of people, because at no point does this story really drag at all. It is very fast, and you just kind of go through the story without any of those like bogged down moments that kind of slow down a story. And that doesn't mean that there aren't slow moments that kind of like build out certain things, but every time that the story kind of gets to the point where it's kind of lulling, or you're kind of like, okay, but what's next? It happens. You go right to that next thing. And I think the pacing throughout the story is one of the best aspects. When I was reading it, there were multiple times where I normally read late at night, and I'd look over at the clock and be like, it's midnight, but I really just want to keep going and ruin my sleep schedule to keep reading this because I wanted to keep turning the page. And so that pacing is just a huge, huge success. And with that being said, another thing I really liked is the mystery that goes along with that pacing. They kind of go hand in hand because it's written in a way that you want to keep going, and then the story itself has this mystery built into it where you want to know what's happening, you want to know what's going on. It kind of just builds on itself really nicely. And so like I said, there were many times where I was reading and had to stop to go to bed, but I was just thinking about it while I was trying to fall asleep, trying to theorize what was happening, what was going on, what was going to happen to the character next. All these kinds of things were really awesome. One thing I did also really like to see, and like I said, this is maybe lets the story, the illusion of the story down a little bit. Learning about it before you read it is the passage of time that happens in this book. This isn't the kind of story that takes place over a week or a month or a year. This is a decade-spanning story. And I thought it was really nice to see the evolution of the world again from when the looping starts to where we get to at the end of the story, and how those things all interact between everything. And unfortunately, I'm being really, really vague, and I can't express exactly what I want to say because I want you to buy this book, and I want you to experience it and come back and tell me how much you liked it. But yeah, that journey that you go through, I think it's 40-ish years or right around there, 30-something years. It's awesome to see the changes that go on. And now let's talk about the negatives. And unfortunately for the negatives, I have to be less vague. So once again, if you really don't want to be spoiled, if any of that stuff has sold you to get on this, to read this book, I recommend clicking off now, last warning, because some of the mystery is going to get, not be as mysterious when I say some of my negatives, unfortunately. And the first thing I'm going to have to mention is that some of the relationships that happen in this book, I didn't really like the way they ended up. It worked fine. None of them are bad, but they aren't necessarily things that I really wanted to happen, if that makes sense. I would have been much happier with them taking different paths and avenues and explored in different ways. And while they all work out and I think are well done throughout the story, I don't know, they just weren't the decisions I would have made for those relationships. Not that any of it is bad. Like I said, I really did like this book, so these negatives are like very small and kind of nitpicky things, but nonetheless, there are a couple characters that I'm thinking of, the relationship and how everything kind of got mixed together. I don't know, it wasn't that satisfying to me, no matter how justified it was or anything like that, and the decisions that these characters make, I didn't like it. It's not the decision that I would have liked them to make. I would have liked it to be explored differently, because the two characters I'm thinking of, I think it would have been really interesting to see them come together the way that I would have wanted them to. Another negative I'll mention is some of the, I'm gonna try to still keep it vague, but some of the politics that end up coming into the story, I just really feel like one side would have been a lot more popular than the other side, and there would have been this really big power imbalance. And while I think I should have put this in the positive, because some of the politicking is some of the best part of the book and what goes on with it, I don't know, it almost didn't seem, and this is funny to say in a speculative science fiction story, it didn't seem real enough, which, like I said, funny thing to say in a book like this. But yeah, that wasn't my favorite aspect with how some of the politics played out. I mentioned that this is a very emotional book, and while some of it is super, super impactful, some of it isn't. Some of it either happens off screen or it happens so quickly that it's kind of fleeting. And yeah, there's a couple instances where I really feel like with what happened, it should have either been brought up more, or that should have been like trauma that they experienced more often. And for what I'm thinking of in particular, it just kind of happened. They were sad and then it never really got brought up again. And so there are a couple instances of that where I would have liked those emotions to be explored longer, or, you know, have come out more often than they did. But those are my positives and negatives for this read. Overall, I think this is a really great book for most people. I don't think there is a really group of people that I don't think should read this. Overall, this is a really fun read. It's really fast paced. It's interesting, has a mystery, and just all things considered is a really good time. So I hope you will consider picking this book up. Like I said, I'm pretty sure right now they're doing a pre-sale for like $1 on Kindle. So I mean, come on, for $1 to read up a book that's this level of quality is a no-brainer to me. But if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a good one.